So let's look at how we can make our website responsive. And again, this magic is going to come from CSS. And we use what's called media queries. And because we've been building out this website actually from the desktop version, so we've been building up from the large size down, and there's two different ways, of course, that you can build websites. You can start with your mobile view, and then you can build up from it as well. So those are the two options that you have, and this may affect the way that you actually look at and how you're presenting your content. So let's take a look at this. And so this is our website so far. So we've got our home page here. We've got, so everything is being presented nice and neatly, but when we do resize it, then we see that we run into some trouble there with the styling of the menu. So let's take care of that with media queries. So I can minimize this because we don't need to look at our index. So this is all done through CSS. So with media queries, you have an option to set what your, I guess essentially different breakpoints within your website. And what I mentioned earlier, where we started off with our big view and moving down, this is why we're going to use max size. There's also, if you start with a mobile first approach, you might be able to use min width, because this is going to set a breakpoint once you grow larger than 640. So right now we're setting a breakpoint once we shrink down less than 640. So I know it sounds the same, slightly different, because the ideas are that all of the content, all of the CSS outside of this max width is just by default, and then the max width is going to make that adjustment, as opposed to all of the default settings, and then min width would make that initial adjustment. And of course you can set this max width to be whatever you want. I usually like to set breakpoints around the 640, 680, 700 area. This usually gives me a really good version of a mobile version. So that's where, if I'm setting only one breakpoint, I'll do it there. You can of course set multiple breakpoints. So just to illustrate how this is going to work, so maybe if I had something that, if it's an iPhone, so really small, so maybe I had a breakpoint there, and maybe I had tablet size. So I had a different body color, so I'm just going to set. So for body, let's set up some styling here. So background color, and this is just all to illustrate how the media queries work. So I'm going to be removing these as we go along. So do red, and maybe this one can be green, because of course we haven't really used green yet. So let's take a look at this now, how this is going to work. So we do have actually body colors that we're setting, so maybe this isn't the best example of it, but let's see where we can actually see something that changes. So maybe for the sections, for now, I'm going to get rid of the background color. A better way to demonstrate would be to go down to here, and I can simply set a background color for particular elements. So let's do it that way. And I just need to update these ones now as well. So now we see that at 980, so initially it's white, and this was the difference between the min and max, because initially it's white, and then when I shrink down, I get my changes happening at 980. When I shrink it down even more, I get another change happening at 640. And then if I shrink it down even more, and I think the reason that it doesn't look right is because I'm way off to the side there. So let me bring that back into focus here. And we can see that when we shrink it down even more to 460, then it turns green. So this is what the media queries can do. And the really neat thing about them is this gives us the ability to apply different styling. And this is where we can apply styling. We see here that we need a breaking point. we need a way to present this menu in a different format. So let's make that adjustment here that it's actually going to go to Aqua whenever we hit that breaking point, and that's probably about 720. So let's just refresh it, make sure our changes take place. So roughly around when it hits, we can probably go with a 680. So I don't want to tie it too closely, but we could probably go with a 680 here, that this is the point where I see the menu drops down, and this is where I want to have my media query to readjust the menu and the way that's going to look. And one of the things that I want is I want to display my mini menu now. So let's take a look at that and change that to display block. And then I'm going to show you how we can redo the way this menu is going to get presented. And I don't really need to, we're going to leave this in for now, but we're not going to really need to worry about all the different homepage colors. So I'm going to just leave it in right now for sampling, but normally you wouldn't do this where you'd be changing the homepage color depending on what size your content's being presented. So in the next lesson, we're going to continue to work with the media queries and fix up this menu and get this working properly. So that's coming up in the next set of lessons.